All right, let's just see if this is working, people. Because I hate how the sound manages to get completely out of whack here. All right, let's just see if this... Okay, that sounds reasonably good to me. Welcome, everyone, to yours truly, Baphomet podcast. We are doing Dr. Timothy Leary of High Priest. Now we are doing the 11th trip. We've only got 5 trips to go after this one, which I'm quite happy about because I will actually probably prefer to get to doing some other content after this. But I do want to complete it anyway because I'm finding that Timothy Leary is definitely something, man. Like, he was way ahead of our time, and in a lot of respects, he's saying the exact same things that everyone's been still saying to this day 50 years ago. It's like nothing's changed. The same bullshit such as arguing with academics, scholastics, institutions, it just doesn't seem to end. And he just sort of proves that point quite poignantly through at the whole book. So the last trip he was talking about like how it would go about with reintegrating prisoners. Now, apparently they more than doubled their target of like having no reincarcerations, but there was usually sometimes some problems like people having to still face the real world and go back to their old lives, and it's always confronting, and they will usually find themselves back in old patterns. And that was a big thing for me to realize, because maybe not all of this can really be solved through just taking delics. So without further ado, we are going to continue with Trip 11. When the celestial messenger comes wearing a fedora, can you suspend your games? Whatever that means. So Oracle 28. Work on what has been spoiled. Decay. Keeping still mountain, the gentle wind. The wind blows low on the mountain, the image of decay. Thus, the superior man stirs up the people and strengthens the spirit. All right. Let's continue. So, let's see where this one leads us to. Wait, this one just caught my eye. I would like to sound a word of urgent warning with regards to the hallucinogen drugs with special reference to N-dimethyltryptamine. I've obtained a supply of this drug synthesized by a chemist friend in London. My first impression was that it closely resembled psilocybin in its effects. I've taken it perhaps 10 times. This drug might be injected and the dose is about 1 gram, but I had been assured that there was a wide margin of safety, with results sometimes unpleasant but well under control, and always interesting when the horrible experience occurred, which I have recorded and submitted for publication in Encounter. I'm sending alone to you pertinent sections of this manuscript. I think you will be readily to see the danger involved. I do not know if you are familiar with apomorphine, which is the only drug that acts as a metabolic regulator. I think, let's just sort of go back there. So, yeah, it is true that N-dimethyltryptamine, according to a lot of people, has similar effects to psilocybin. So, we shall continue. You've got to write a big, enthusiastic letter to Burroughs and get him interested in taking the mushrooms. He knows more about drugs than anyone alive. What a report he'll write you. This was Allen Ginsberg talking in the winter of 1960 to 1961. But it could have been any of a dozen other advisors. Burroughs is the man. He knows the drug scene from head to heel. Allen Ginsberg left a copy of Junkie, a hard-bitten, powerful account of the 1950 drug scene in New York, written by Burroughs under the pseudonym William Lee. The book is so real, it stinks of subways late at night and the stale must of 8th Avenue hotels. Oh, damn. The sickening odor of benzodrine and the dry sweat of tenement sexuality. The last lines of Junkie announce the author's intention to pursue the hallucinogenic grail to South America. Kick is momentary freedom from the claims of the aging, cautious, frightened flesh. Yage may be the final fix. Yage is a vine. Ayahuasca or Banisteriopsis. Yeah, boy, we're getting into the good stuff. Found in the Amazon regions of Peru and Colombia, which Ginsberg described as a telepathic hallucinogenic mind-expanding drug used by Amazonian Indian doctors for finding lost objects, mostly bodies and souls. It's not how I would really describe it, but okay. In 1953, Burroughs had made the trip to Bogota, Pasto, Macon, and then to Peru on the Trail of Visions. Now, 7 years later, he was in Paris experimenting with hallucinations produced by flicker machines. What has been spoilt through man's fault can be made good again through man's work. It is not immutable fate, as in time of standstill, that has caused the state of corruption, but rather the abuse of human freedom. In other words, don't abuse your freedom, fellas, because that it can very quickly be taken away. After a while, a letter arrived from Paris. Dear Timothy Leary, thanks for your letter. I agree all the way. My work and understanding benefits from hallucinogens measurably. Wider use of these drugs would lead to better work conditions on all levels. Might be interesting to gather anthology of mushroom writing. I'll be glad to send along my results, enclosed minutes to go which may interest you along the lines you indicate in the letter. I have made cut-up highs without chemical assistance. Brion Geeson? I'll go with Geeson. Brion Geeson, who prefers to apply the cut-up method to writing, is here at the above address and would also be most interested to take the mushrooms. So I'll look forward to hearing from you. You have my full agreement and support. Sincerely, William Burroughs. P.S. Do you know Dr. Schultz of the Harvard Botanical Department? I met him in South America. He has taken a Banisteriopsis and is most interested in experiments with the hallucinogens. In reply, I sent a supply of psilocybin pills to the world's most experienced experimenter on drugs and awaited a report. His report was surprising. Burroughs had a bad trip on DMT and was sounding the cry of urgent warning. We studied the letter with considerable interest and got a wide variety of interpretations. We had learned enough to know that set and setting determine the reaction, not the drug. You know, that's 100% correct. Because if you don't have a correct setting, like, all kinds of bad shit will happen. So don't take it. I'm not condoning it, by the way. Please, I'm not condoning anything illegal, but if you were to take these substances around the wrong people at the wrong time in the wrong place, guess what? You're going to get fucking hurt. So, heed that warning. Bill Burroughs, alias Dr. Benway, had inadvertently taken an overdose of DMT and was flung into a space fiction paranoia. Shortly after receiving the warning, I wrote asking Burroughs if he would participate in a symposium of psychedelic drugs which we had arranged for the September 1961 meetings of the American Psychological Association. I was impressed with Burroughs' experimental bent, the rigor and sternness of his declaration about precise research. So who is this fellow again? Burroughs. We were intrigued by the idea of the great novelist. Running precise controlled research sessions, we offered to pay travel expenses for the trip to New York and asked Burroughs if he wanted to spend some time in Cambridge after the symposium. The answer came back, sure. In the July of that summer, I went to Tangier to see Allen Ginsberg and to plan the conference with Burroughs. After the plane from Madrid pulled up the Tangier air terminal, we were held up for 15 minutes while the family of the king passed to another waiting airplane, emblazoned with Arabic script and regal emblems. More than a dozen women in veils picked their way daintily across the runway, guarded by police and soldiers. Over at the terminal behind the rail, a man with long blonde hair waved and shouted. It was Peter Orlovsky, leaving in half an hour for Gibraltar, then to Athens and the far, far east. He was sick of Tangier and didn't like what was going on there. He had quarreled with Burroughs and was off to finish Wise Men Find wise men and wild drugs in the East. I'll take drugs you've never heard of. Morgan laughed hard. Have a good trip, Peter. The taxi climbed a winding street to the little hotel where Allen Ginsberg had reserved rooms for me at $2 a night. Fuck, that's cheap, man. What the hell? $2 a fucking night. And yet, here we are paying, like, at least in Australia, a hotel that, like, the average hotel now costs like $140, dude. Like, that's insane. Think about that. That's wild. Anyway, Alan was out. As I waited in the living room of the concierge, a thin, stooped man wearing glasses and a hat walked in. Two handsome British boys about 19 years old were with him. Burrows? Fine. I was just about to look you up. Leave a note for Alan. Let's have a drink. We sat in the outdoor garden of a restaurant and had several gins while we reviewed the Harvard and American plans. Mind, brain, drugs. Mind, brain, drugs. Burrows was non-committal about the mushrooms, but he was pleased with our research and the plans to visit America. Then we went back to the hotel and had dinner with Allen Ginsberg, Gregory Corso, and Alan Anson. After dinner, we went to Burroughs' hotel. A lion's head stared from the door. We walked through into a garden and around the very back to Burroughs' room. Dark cave, big bed, desk littered with papers, hundreds of photos pasted together and rephotographed. Cut up pictures, boil out the essence of the pictures, and then shoot it. 3 off-tuned radios blaring noise. Static is the essence of sound. Pop cutting board. Alan's pictures of Marrakesh. We sat around the room, taking turns peering through the cardboard cylinder flicker machine. Burroughs wanted to take mushrooms. Allen Ginsberg said, well, everyone in Tangier had been waiting for you to arrive with the legendary mushrooms. Oh, intercontinental fame of Montezuma's medicine. Oh, fabled poets. Yes, they will write expatriate reports in blank verse international. Alan Anson from Venice William Burroughs from St. Louis will send a mysterious reply in tissue script. Allen Ginsberg, still scared, will chant an epistolary record, and Gregory Corso, Alwise, Cat's Mouth, Cheerful Panda Bear, Charlie Chaplin will, with pleasure, tap out a few lines on the fabled typewriter, and the 2 young Englishmen, cool with wild poet's hair, will spin out statements. Good deal. All experienced hands at consciousness expansion. The session began in Burroughs' room. Dim lit, unmade bed, crowded, smoky. Burroughs lay back on the bed. The English boys watched him. The rest of us walked out to the garden and looked over the wall down on Tangier Harbour. All was depressed over Peter's departure. What did Peter say? How did he seem? He was struggling with Burroughs. Burroughs is anti-love. It so happened that the Royal Fair was in town and the King's picture was draped over wires at every street intersection. And we could see the fairground ablaze with lights down near the beach and hear the sounds of drums and pipes. It was the essence of night, warm, clear, hung on a ledge above North Africa's port, Moorish music drifting up to us watching. Alan Anson and Gregory Corso were grinning, and we all looked at each other and breathed in deeply. Whew! Pure burnished ecstasy. Allen Ginsberg said that Burroughs seemed to want to be quiet. So why didn't we go over to his place and watch the night from there? We floated down the steps to the hotel and then up to the patio in front of Alan's room. The floor beneath was a city carpeted with lights strung from the rigging of ships in the harbour and the King's Carnival crazily rollicking along by the water's edge. We were all in the highest and most loving of moods. Alan Anson couldn't believe it. He kept laughing and shaking his head. This can't be true. So beautiful. Heaven. But where is the devil's price? Anything this great must have a terrible flaw in it. It can't be this good. Is it addictive? Will we ever come down? I hope not. I was answering the questions that Alan and Gregory asked about the research and what had been happening in the States. Comic, zen, mushroomy talk. The four of us moored like happy balloons over Tangier, joy, love, union. It was decided to pick up... Oh, good. I was hoping there was no noise. Good. It was decided to pick up Burroughs and there go down to visit the fair. When we go to Burroughs' house, Alan walked around to the side and climbed partway up the wall and uttered his ritual greeting. Bill Burroughs! Bill Burroughs! We walked by the door and after a minute, it slowly creaked open there, almost collapsed against the wall, was Bill. His face was haggard and tense and staring out like man caught in some power of Sammy the Butcher. He reached his left hand over his sweating face, tried to slip out eyes of white hot crab creatures, his thin fingers clawing at the right cheek, smoke escaped, cut off by a white hot metal lattice. Bill, how are you doing? They gave me large dose. I'd like to sound a word of warning. I'm not feeling too well. I was struck by juxtaposition of purple fire mushroom from the pain banks. Urgent warning. I think I'll stay here in shriveling envelopes of larval flesh. I'm going to take some apomorphine, one of the nastiest cases ever processed by this department. You fellas go down to the fair and see film and brainwaves tuning in on soulless insect people. Minutes to go. Woo! You hallucinogen drugs bottle and smoke pictures, my dears. Compassion. Compassion. Beautiful and ugly spirits blossom in the brain. Too bad. Minutes to go. What can we do? Compassion brings no relief. See you at the next fair. The door closed around him, glowing metal lattice in purple and blue. He's the most resilient man in Hudson and Southwest Mountain Troop. He's being all right. Good old Bill. He takes no prisoners. We rolled like diamond hoops down the waterfront. The electricians had outdone themselves. Sidewalk emblazoned with Arabic script. What's that jeweled object? Van Vogged on the pavement. Jambox sparkled. Lived. Once, for a long moment, chance turned it. That translucent fairy tower, a glowing turquoise blue, for one moment, and then the combination shattered into a million bursting fragments of color. Blue, red, green, yellow. No color, no possible shade of color was missing from that silent, flaming explosion. What is it? Oh, an empty cigarette package in the gutter's lambent flame. Oh, dear. Come along, O.C., the conquering art of Moorish slave girls crowned with diadems. What a happy crowd, dancing with lively, mocking sound, blue tattoos on forehead. Happy night, walking to the fair with Baudelaire, this world of stone and metal, brittle and bright, the family of the king picked their ways across daintily. Flasks of perfume, fabrics lame and spangled. Rich furnishings of brocade and gold, and yet we haven't even arrived at the gate to the fair yet. Tickets, industrial exhibits of the alien species, Anson and Corso smiling, delights of Islam. Alan Ginsberg is still melancholy. Peter had left. Not sure he believes in love. Not sure he wants to be a great man. We slid through through canvas slit in... I am reading that right. Okay, good. We slid through canvas slit in Arab tent, Ginsberg guide to watch the dancing. Oh, the endless chanting. Behind us, a girl nurses her baby. Boy dances swayed and rocked drunkenly, chanting, and become dust that is scattered on the desert wind. Swinging circles, clashing bronze cymbals. Alan Anson, eyes closed, sways back and forth to the beat. The foremost shall be brought nigh unto God into the gardens of delight. The cymbals laughed and chanting told the secret. On inlaid couches they reclined face to face. 4 Moorish soldiers, tending young in the front row, eyes popping in wonder, while immortal youths go around them with goblets and flagons and a chalice of wine. The dance endless, exactly, timeless. The cadence rise and fall of breathing rhythm. Up, down, around us veiled women, mysterious, soft, inviting, and fruit according to their choice, and flesh of fowls that they desire. Ginsberg was whispering that the color of the robe meant a different tribe. Riffs from the mountains. Fountains? Can't hear the talk of Berbers, proud, loud, Joyce. The chanting river road mounts, raw mounts. There too are Horus with dark eyes like hidden pearls. Entire families leaning towards to watch, robed, listening, nor are they bemused. Whispers, they're all high on pot or hashish. That's why the dance goes so long, endless and always flowing. Yeah. But they hear the aying peace. Peace. Now the Ghanaian drummers leap on stage, whirling, pounding the deep, heavy drums. Each beat quivers. Energy coils. We become each beat amid thornless lot trees and clustered plantains and spreading shade and gushing water. The drummers, negroid, fierce, laughing. High too. Moors use water in their architecture because to a desert, people, the splashing sound and rippling sight of fountains is the highest delight. The dance tempo quickened to a Niagara chaos of sound and high-raised couches. Consorts have we created, and we have made them virgins. On low stairs leading up to the stage, a Moorish maid beams out curious, flirting look from olive slits behind a grey veil. Utterly loving and perfectly matched, we have made them. I fell in love with veiled eyes. Ooh, saucy, but also mystical. When the dancing stopped, we filed outside and walked to an open cafe under the arcade of the fair building. Arab music from a radio and squatting in the corner. A man playing guitar. A circle of men sitting on cushions, passing pipes with long stems and small clay bowls. Marijuana smoke. A man about 50, wiry and cheerful as your plumber on a party, jumped up and began a belly dance. The men watched, grinned, and clapped their hands. Burroughs walked up with the English boys. He was feeling better, but wasn't talking. We had tea in tall glasses clogged with mint leaves. Steaming, sweet. Burroughs wanted to go to a bar. We walked along the waterfront lazily. The bar was crowded with men and smoky with loud Spanish music. I said good night to Burroughs and walked up the hill with Alan and Gregory and stayed up the rest of the night talking on Alan's patio and heard the cocks crow and saw the sun rise and gleam on the eastern walls of the city by the gates. Damn it, dude. It's a feet speed issue. During the following days in Morocco, I shot reels of a retinal film Tangerine. At Paul's Belly's apartment, I heard his tapes of Arab music, recorded as he walked down old villages, dancing festival streets, and a tape of Burroughs reading his stuff at an English university. Powerful, eerie, Venusian prose. Minutes to go. No one had captured the horror of modern technology, like Burroughs' cold, damp machinery, the television mind, cold, blue steel sexuality. Plastic bodies drained of the warm juices. Ugh. Leary, what is this about? I watched a session in which several young English boys took Majoon, the powerful hashish jam. One of them got caught in bad visions. I could see why. He played the part of a miserable, bullied, self-despising English schoolboy homosexual. Far out, man. He had walked in on the session uninvited and had tagged along unwanted. Then suddenly he found himself out of his mind in a strange port city amid strangers who disliked him, and he trembled in fear. I watched to see how the drug experts would handle the situation. For the most part, he was ignored. He's a drag, man. Give him a sedative. There was little compassion in the honey-sweet Majoon syrup. Damn. Only Allen Ginsberg was tender, sitting next to him and talking softly, curandero style. When I left Tangier for Copenhagen, I arranged to meet Bill Burroughs in London in 3 weeks. Dick Alpert and I phoned Bill and then took a cab to his hotel. He had a small, dark first-floor room with a meter on the wall. Bill misses Kiff, poring over photos of Yage convulsions. I am a good photographer of impersonal symbols. The mushroom of Tangier propelled me into arrows of unfriendly. Let's try some now to see if they work differently. We all took 4 milligrams, not by a brush of the phoenix first soft wing. In the working class tea room, Bill's metal cynicism, American publishers cheating officers, publisher Benny and his neuroses and his mistress and his lawyers and his analysts. Ah, Beckett. Awe and reverence. Sent emissary to Beckett to arrange an interview, but Beckett sees no one. With Tangier mushrooms, feared lack of control. Stop all that vibrating, regrets soft machine. Won't be understood. Cut up is too far out. Walking the London streets, he doesn't like the loss of control. We were swallowed by 2 mushroom pills and sat in the green mouth of the park of white dental benches. Richard brooding about Greek sexual utopias and watching the passerby. Burroughs talking brilliantly, leather-beaten face, turkey neck. Ah, J.P. Ryan, you German river of experimentation. ESP is either accidental, little whirlpools of old vibrations caught in pockets, preserved and suddenly tuned into, or functional senders need the message delivered. ESP can never be experimental. Why do research? The stroboscope. It frightens me. Burroughs need equipment to experiment. Dr. Gray Walter can locate hallucinations. Let's say a peasant woman comes in with a devil vision. Well, by precise manipulation of specific brain points, localized, you understand the doctor proceeds to remove the devil horns, one by one, and then without horns, the devil is just a man in her room. Well, by the precise manipulation of specific brain cells, the devil becomes a smile, and then by further precise manipulations, the man gets to look familiar and, well, to make a long story short, he eventually lays her right in the bed in which she is hallucinating, and she has an orgasm, no, not one, but several. Interesting, because it's how he's talking about like the devil and then being able to remove the horns and just becomes a regular man. I think that's sort of like that underlying part where if we talk about opposites, like man and woman, but they're sort of contrary, it's just affirmation, negation. In a sense, the world's just Satan versus Satan. Or God versus God. It's not really God versus Satan when you think about it. Anyway, let's continue. All in imagination by simple manipulation, precise based on specific localization of hallucinatory content. Imagination is real, after all. Are you involved like us in game of helping the human race? Hell no. Hassan-i-Sabah only wants his return. Imagine a simple middle-class tea room. How it swirls in mushroom smoke. Line up for puddles of brown. Milky tea, sweet, steamy. The essence of anything is the cut up. Cut up words, cut up pictures, boil it down to the essence. Strip off all the irrelevant, redundant. Boil it down into a steamy teaspoon and then shoot it. Laughs, jolly, want to sell Coke? Coca-Cola, I mean? Get thousands of pictures of Coke being drunk in every kind of situation. Paste up all the pictures on a wall and take a picture of that. Then all the thousands of photos are in one photo. The essence of Coke photo. Madison Avenue, Seed Grich, window design, advertising, grab monopoly money. Henry Light sitting on a loose pile of pictures a mile high in that Time Life building. They have pictures of every inch of the world. I think that's just talking more about like the idea of the holographic universe in a sense, and that like you can really just boil down a lot of this seemingly disconnected and abstract systems, but if you know what you're doing and you know what to think about, you can actually draw everything into something that's manageable. Instead of like having a massive swimming pool of knowledge, you can actually just have like a cup full of knowledge. Except this cup is much more potent than any kind of knowledge that you would find in the swimming pool. It's more potent than the whole swimming pool in a sense. That's sort of what alchemy looks like. Separation, reduction. I've actually got the 14 element, the secretary. So solution, filtration, evaporation, distillation, separation, rectification, calcination, commixtion, purification, inhibition, fermentation, fixation, multiplication, projection. So once you actually understand all of those sort of 14 elements, you can actually apply this to knowledge as well, filtration. So you can actually, in a sense, carry so much more, and there will be much more potency if that knowledge is actually sort of broken down, if that makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. The essence of Coke photo. Madison Avenue, seat, Grich, window. We already done that. Virus and parasite, like that humpy. Don't let them in. The parasites. They always worm and then make you feel guilty. Be immune. Don't bargain with them. You can't negotiate with a parasite. You know, I think that's probably what we ought to be doing a lot more. You can't negotiate with like someone whose archetypal thing is a fucking parasite. This is something I've sort of started to learn. You need to actually be careful who you let in. And as much as we want to help people, yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, let's continue. I think this part's actually about to get really interesting. So I want to actually focus a bit more. Be immune. Don't bargain with them. You can't negotiate with a parasite. The soft machine is too difficult. I'm now writing a science fiction book that a 12-year-old can understand. I write to create my own reality. Sound an urgent warning against parasites. Tapeworms are invisible. Viral invasion of the brain. Watch out, don't let them enter. Politics of the virus. What do parasites want? To keep the status quo. Worm their way into the host. Psychedelic drugs are counteragents. Destroy the virus. Destroy the status quo. Psychedelic drugs are a specific cure for brain parasites. Cerebral virus live in nervous systems. Eat and create waste products which prevent consciousness expansion. A hang-up is due to immobilization caused by waste products of neural parasites. Politics of parasites do not kill off the hosts. Need him to eat off like Con and the Mark. Virus is like any rich politician. Vested interest in keeping brain immobilized, keeping consciousness contracted. Symbiosis is the political slogan of parasite, where a parasite is cornered when you've got him covered in your sights. He'll try to convince you that you need a symbiotic relationship. You need me eating off you. Doesn't that sound familiar, people? Doesn't that? Oh, you need us. You need us. I think that this goes not just for, this goes for everything, I reckon. Relationships, power structures, businesses, and all that other kind of thing. There's that idea, oh, you need me, or all that other kind of thing. Or try to convince you that you made him a parasite. It's not my fault I have to eat off you. You led me on. You invited me in, like Humpy. I gave him a junk habit, or with poor boys. You taught me to enjoy nice things. Oceans of tan, sweet, steaming tea, washed through English suburban restaurants, spilling brown on the counters. Sugary tan the air, let's leave. Interesting. Like, sort of fascinating how much we sort of don't really look into that sort of aspect of our nature. And you know, you got to be careful who you let in. And yeah, and it is true. You have to let a vampire into a house. Psychic parasites do exist, not in the same way that like parasitical entities exist, but psychic sort of ideas are parasites, and you do let them in. So the idea is, don't let them in the first place. It's sort of something I'm still sort of coming to grips with, because I let heaps of psychic parasites into my head. And it's been a very long time. So I'll continue anyway. Scissor through parasitology. Chop up in interpersonal psychology. Pastes in junk dialect. Beautiful moment of drifting together. Caution. No positive emotions now. Suspicious. Where go? Walk around Piccadilly. Here for Chelsea. Make a plan. Burrows high, happy, jolly, go to a hotel and have a drink and then dinner? Great. Bump along in inside door London hack. Now, Curare is an interesting drug. Muscle paralysis. No possibility of action. Just lie there absorbing all sensation. Medicine man crooning. Paralyzed. All smothering and can't say it. Can't talk. Each drug opens up an undiscovered, unexplored area. Some inhabited by hostile tribes. Beware, the medicine man can hang you up, direct you into unfriendly territory. Sound urgent warning. DMT, beware, like to take Curare plus consciousness expansion drug, no action, many visions, experimental mind. I think he's just talking about like the different bandwidths that mind-altering substances can activate. And each different kind of substance has a different bandwidth of consciousness that you can access, including hashish, which is just cannabis, I'm pretty sure. And this would sort of fall in the same line with, you know. Yeah, you know. All right. No wars, no nirvana. So, Morocco culture built on hashish, wonderful country, whole damn place undulating in soft, mellow haze of pot. Happy land, no wars, no economic rivalry, relaxed land of lotus, nirvana. Arab nationalists, Nova villains, destroy their own culture. Want power, want to modernize Muslim countries with industrial nightmare of West. Borrow worst elements of West, guns and machines. United States pressures them to make non-toxic hashish illegal. Wild. Force our toxic narcotic on them. Alcohol. Pot used to be legal in Tangier and liquor drinking illegal. Now it's changed. Dictators want their people in alcoholic stupor. Arab nationalists sitting in Cairo hotels drinking scotch, imploding westernization of their countries. Burrows drinking, getting flushed, feel sick, tape apomorphine, nervous, sudden good night. Burrows plane arrives. Logan Airport, Boston. Customs inspection routine. Woo! Came in clean as a whistle. Take no chances, America. Bilbao the Baylor has returned. In the Newton house, he rests, restless. He has traveled. In Tangier, he was always busy, hands moving, chopping the leaves, combing out the seeds, sifting, cleaning, shaking, twisting, tapping, lighting, fuming, chopping, combing. Whew. Now sitting on the green couch in the book-lined library, there was a square round Sinbad, the sailor's rock's egg in empty hands. Here, a box of dried Oaxaca mushrooms. Stern face, impassive, examines the samples which, with our herbarium specimens, he identified as Tirnanicate, flesh of the gods, flush of the dogs. If there be confusion in the botanical field, there is chaos in the chemical. Muttering, wonder if you can smoke this stuff. Why not? The old Tangier game. A game is a sequence of movements characterized by a goal, rolls, rule, ritual, chop, comb, sift, twist. Quick as a flash, young Jack Leary sprang to his bike and pedaled to village for cigarette paper. Bilbao bends over the table with sharp knife on cutting board, chopping, combing, sifting, licking, twisting, lighting, fuming. Heavy, damp, grey, mouldy smoke lined throat and hung noxious. Nauseous over the room. Thank you, said Stephen, taking a cigarette. Haynes held a flaming punk in the shell of his hand. Smoke a soggy log from a frog swamp. I do believe I'm getting high. Mr. Mushroom's got a cough mixture with a punch in it for you, my friend. In his back pocket, Pazoos in lungs cough. No more for me, pulmonary. But Bilbao the Baylor says he's high. Later chemical consultation reveals psychedelic effect of alkaloid destroyed by combustion. Warm August nights in Newton. Burroughs worked on the paper for the American Psychological Association. The approach will be scholarly. Points of distinction. Unfortunately, the word drug activates scientific prose, a reflex between sedative and hallucinogenic words. That week brought a September wave of heat to Manhattan. Symposium on Consciousness Expanding Drugs set in setting by Timothy Leary. Unusual realization and alterations in consciousness, Frank Barron. Extazogenic comments by Gerald Herb. Unusual interest realized that the room must be expanded, altered, not big enough. APA convention manager uncooperative. Hundreds of audience crammed into room, standing 10 deep in hallway, sitting around speaker's table, sprawling on floor. Burroughs lecturing from his manuscript, low voice, dry, non-committal. Talk louder, Bill. Minutes go. Just gonna get a drink of water, people. I won't be long. It's right there. All right. Let's continue. After the psychological convention, the research team returned to Cambridge. Burroughs took up resistance in my house, helpless as a beached fish. The Harvard Project members were involved in teaching, rehabilitating convicts, experimenting foolishly but merrily with love engineering, talking and writing about behavior change, pursuing careers, academic, scientific, marital, messianic, and under his grey fedora, Burroughs sat lonely in third room surrounded by cut-up photos or leaned unsmiling on kitchen table drinking gin tonics, beaming a monologue caustic comic. Hassan I Sabah, relentless, tender as a Venusian green neon antennae light gun ray. Increasingly bitter and paranoid and always brilliant, original, excruciatingly cynical, naked, personal, monumental, lovely. Burroughs with the Harvard Project was Leonardo da Vinci wearing a fedora. Pushed unsmiling into left field at Yankee Stadium. Willie Mays in a fedora lured onto the stage of Metropolitan Opera. He was Christ with a fedora at the Copacabana, the all-time all-star in the wrong tribe. From the time he hit the country, he was suspicious and cynical of psychedelic drugs and their use. He was instructed to turn up the volume if he experienced any pain. He never had a session, and although his APA lecture gallantly avoided mention of psilocybin, he never concealed his distaste for the drug we hoped he would research. Damn. Disappointments abound. Huh? Sam sat on the ground, put his head in his hands. I wish I'd never come here. I don't want to see no more magic, he said, and fell silent. Damn. That's sometimes... You can feel that way sometimes, actually. Because it can get pretty rough when you go down the rabbit hole of mysticism and things like that. And expanding your consciousness. So... Yep. He left silently without farewell, and then rumor drifted up like damp smoke from New York that he had published a no-thank-you letter denouncing the Harvard psychedelics. Open letter to my constituents and co-workers, if any remain for the end of it. The Harvard psychologists have monopolized love, sex, and dream. Yeah, that's never good, is it? Monopolizing dreams. Bill Bad's accusation. Harvard's hallucinogenic drug monopolists cover travel arrangements but never pay the constituents they have betrayed and sold out. They offer love and slop buckets to cover a retreat. They leave Hassan I Sabah in a third-floor room subject to constant insults and humiliation. They steal, bottle, and dole out addictive love and eyedroppers of increased awareness of unpleasant or dangerous symptoms. The answer: not guilty, beloved Bilbad. There was no powerful board and syndicate to subsidize Dr. Benway's attack on psilocybin love brigade. There was only Jack Leary and his assistants ready to spring to the borrowed bicycle fund errands. The superior man must first remove stagnation by stirring up public opinion. As the wind stirs everything, it must then strengthen and tranquilize the character of the people, as the mountain gives tranquility and nourishment to all that grows in its vicinity. I know that's sort of an I Ching thing, but like I think that's just what happens. Yeah, you must in order to remove stagnation, you have to stir people up. There's no way about it. The way you stop water from stagnating is that it keeps moving. Same thing with a soup, otherwise scum floats to the top. Same sort of deal. So maybe when we're talking about this stuff, the idea isn't to actually get people on your side initially when you talk about this kind of stuff. Maybe it's initially to get people thinking about it, to stir up the waters, to cause a stir in people. Maybe that's more important. Anyway, Bilbad the Baylor finally escaped the Nova ovens of Harvard, confident not in promise but in fulfillment. He never let his knife-edge style dull into the wrong game. Lonely in his third-floor room, he made the most impressive literary debut of the past century. Lured into left field, he scares grade B psilocybin out of the behavioral scientists, counting their methodological hallucinations. After he covered his retreat from the colony they so disgracefully mismanaged, he released a wordman of urgent warning against his Harvard host. Stay out of Timothy Leary's Garden of Delights. Listen to us, cried the Harvard scientist. We are creating the Gardens of Delight on the Harvard payroll. The best ever in Ivy League drug kicks. Love, love, love in slop buckets. How does that sound to his awe-inspiring artistry? Hassan the Hailer takes us on a lively, scary, broadening journey with the ticket that exploded. Leaves nothing for the reader who might wish to love, sex, and dream. At the immediate risk of finding himself the most unpopular character in Cambridge, he creates a new angle of vision. Orders total resistance. Beware of Timothy's ersatz immortality. Psilocybin should be banned by customs. Did we monopolize immortality, Bilbad? Did we monopolize cosmic consciousness? Did we force Hassam I Sabah to wear a special garb subject to constant insults? No. Our tea, too, spilled brown, steamy sweet on the kitchen table during September heatwave. That's who. Mr. William Lee Baylor is a very worldly, wise, later modern, nothing if not civilized, superb writer. Who ever gave any more than they had to give to a frightened English schoolboy lonely in the third-floor bedroom? Talk louder, Bill, we whispered. Are we so complacent about the present state of our knowledge? Are you, covering your retreat from Leary's office in Cambridge? Were you heard to say that immortality, cosmic consciousness, and love is the cry of every as yet uninstitutionalized man everywhere? Is the love pill second run grade B bullshit? Is psilocybin a nasty book? Don't you mean lucid? Whose drugs are poison designed to beam in orgasm death and nova ovens? Unmistakable. Bill Burroughs, you're right. Superb. For all your spiritual strength, you invoke no fuzzy alien words. What does your program of total austerity turn to for a grasp? Rub out the word forever? Only such extreme wordments can rub out the statement in all their statements. Illuminate the disgracefully managed colony. For the 7 years since 1960, I have lived in mismanaged psychedelic communes, tribal encampments, although we didn't grasp the tribal significance for a time. During this period, several thousand people had hopefully visited, and over 200 have, like Bill Burroughs, actually moved into our houses. All but 24 have moved on because the human chemistry didn't work. The mysterious alchemy of living together, our insensitivity to Bill Burroughs points up important lessons about human society. We are tribal animals, primates. We have lived together in small bands for 100,000 years. The unit of human survival, spiritual, economic, political, is the clan. The clan is a small collection of families. Didn't really think about that. Each of us has built into his genetic code into the very cellular essence of our being. tribal commitments, tribal style, tribal mores, tribal taboos, tribal sexual rituals. Man is designed by over 2 billion years of divine blueprinting to live in small groups. We were not built to live in the insect and anonymity of large cities. The urban empire always collapsed. In the cities, tribal needs and tribal styles are concealed by the plastic uniformity. It is only when we live together that the cellular plan emerges. There are countless mythic archetypes which determine harmonious or disruptive living together. Of these, geographical, racial, and sexual factors are the most important in the formation and perpetuation of the tribal commune. Over the millennia, these two factors, geography and sexual style, have operated through natural selection. Today, in the period of collapsing empire, we are faced with the problem of reforming tribes. Look to your ancestors and listen to your sexual messages as you select your tribe members. There are mountain people and shore people. There are village people and land people. Your national and racial origins are preserved, alive in your neurological and cellular equipment. The basic messages of blood and sperm are experienced in every detail of daily life. Awareness of and delicate sensitivity to their ancient styles facilitated harmonious tribal living and rewarding internal tribal contact. Ignorance of racial and sexual tendencies breed chaos. Civilized people are tribal people. Urban people are usually blind to the essence of differences which give glorious variety to organic existence and human life. Bill Burroughs came to visit... Okay, yep. Well, I'm going to stop there for a second. So, that was really important, right? Because we're not used to... Like, the idea of living in large cities in like this uniformity is very different. And I think it's very important that we do realize that we are tribal animals, but we do need to be around people that actually do belong to us. Whether this is in online communities, whether this is through shared fetishes or whatever the hell you're into. But the point is, communities are so important for a reason. Right? Awareness of and delicate sensitivity to the ancient styles facilitate harmonious tribal. Ignorance of racial and sexual tendencies breed chaos. That is true. This is not. I'm not racist. Okay, let me make that very, very fucking clear. However, we are different. It's clear that our headspace and the way we process stuff is different. Men and women clearly process stuff differently. Different races and different cultures clearly process stuff differently. It's all different. And that's why I think there needs to stop being this... Because the whole diversity thing, it's not that it's a bad message, I guess. But I think it completely goes over people's heads on what we actually should be doing, and that you can't just force people to love each other. It never works that way. Because I know what that's like, being forced to love someone, and it actually breeds really, really deep resentment. And I think this will happen on a macro scale when you're talking about larger groups of people, between races, classes of people, kinds of professions as well. It will happen. Anyway, we'll continue. Bill Burroughs came to visit a dignified sage, complex, genius, shaman, poet, guide from a different but sympathetic tribe. Our obtuse game playing paid disrespect to him and his clan. And when I heard the poet scold me, I turned towards him, covered with such shame that even now it circles through my memory. Oh no. When you return, poet, we'll offer you the ancient pipe of peace. Damn, that's funny. Bill Burroughs is one of the few word works, man-aged, or totally refurbished, that historians will turn to for a grasp. You may call Hassan to write for you. You will stay to write for him. He left Harvard, bowing 3 times and disappeared into his characters. He is a knife-edge hero, undulled by rhetoric. Yes, talk louder, Bill, talk louder. Work of what has been spoiled has supreme success. If ever there's one to cross the great water, before the starting point 3 days, after the starting point 3 days. Almost sounds a bit like the thing of Christ. Yeah, so I guess this one was probably the first. The 11th trip wasn't as great as I thought it would be, because all the other ones have been fucking fantastic. This one was a bit eh. But, you know, I've had a lot of fun doing this. So I would say the biggest takeaway of that is that we are tribal creatures, and this sort of happens in between, like on all levels of our psyche. It's not like being tribal is not just a racial or political thing. It happens everywhere. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the Yours Truly Baphomet podcast. Please like, share, subscribe to my Substack. And I hope to see you guys later.